Josh, thanks for taking time out to talk to us. Obviously a very disappointing last couple of hours of what's happened to your football club and to Portsmouth Football Club. Your own thoughts of how it was all handled, first of all?
Well, it was handled in accordance with, the normal way of things. And the referee's got a tough job and he's got a decision to make. And he made that decision at a point in time. If we'd have been able to give it a bit longer, and the input from the groundsman particularly, was if we leave it, then it'll probably be playable. He wasn't able to take a decision to postpone any longer, in his view. There's an awful lot of Portsmouth fans ready to come in. But as we know at Crewe, as we found with Colchester a couple of years ago, you can have a flooded pitch at 2:45 and play on it at 3:30 perfectly well. So that'll be some of the input that we'll send back. And we respect the decision. The guy's got a difficult job, but disappointing. Yeah, very disappointing,
Yeah, when you're staging a home game, what are the implications? What happens for you as a club in terms of your hospitality? It looks like you were sold out, and your supporters, your pies and everything else that goes with it are already bought and everything.
At the end of the
match day.
At the end of the day, Graham, it is about the supporters, and we've got an awful lot of very upset supporters. And of course, most of our supporters understand our pitch, just like Danny, the groundsman, understands our pitch. And as we speak, it's not raining and it's all drying out. So we've got an awful lot of upset supporters, and I understand that. I feel really sorry for the Portsmouth. Some have come through Storm Eunice. One or two even made it over from the Isle of Wight. They've come up, they've got here, they've waited around in the rain and the pubs for the decision. And, if we were making a decision now, we'd play the game. But unfortunately, we made it an hour ago, or the referee made it an hour ago, and we are where we are. In terms of the hospitality, well, that will be a loss to our football club that we prefer if we hadn't had, but we have to stand. The people who bought hospitality today were halfway through their lunch when we announced that the game was off. We'll come to, the fixture when it's rearranged. And we'll stand that cost. The managers wanted to play, the chief executive wanted to play, I wanted to play. But like I say, it's hindsight. I suspect if the same referee comes another day in the pouring rain, he would probably handle it a little bit different. But I don't. It's a tough job. It is a really tough job they've got. And my heart goes out to him in a way, because he's driving back and he's thinking, did I get that right?
He has to keep to his protocols that the EFL put onto him, doesn't he?
He does. I mean, one of the inputs we will give to the EFL, the postponement went out so quickly, without, in fact, the lounge knew before I got back into the lounge that the game was off. Now that's modern phones and, cameramen and digital media and all the rest of it. So our input to the league will be quite straightforward, really, and that is, can referees be encouraged and the protocol take account of perhaps a little bit of further delay, and on the basis of knowledge? And then, if you like, the blame comes more towards the club. So, for example, if today we'd said just give it another hour, and it carried on raining for another hour, and it very definitely was off at 3:15, then of course that would be more down on the club, because we've persuaded the referee. But given that all sides want a game on, Portsmouth, I don't think we've got many Tuesdays left, so it's a real problem for Portsmouth. So perhaps the protocol can take account of that. And the other thing I'll feed back is that I think the referee should communicate his decision to the two managers in the manager's office, out of sight, so to speak, of the media and or anybody else who's going to tweet, quite rightly, that the game's off, so that at least we could have had a discussion. But so I'm really, really disappointed. I'm disappointed for the fans. I'm disappointed for Portsmouth fans and everybody concerned. But it is what it is, and the decision was made, and you can't reverse a referee's decision. We know that with penalties and you can't, and that's it.
Were you well satisfied with the way that your staff and everybody was, looking at the game, which was hopefully going to go ahead, that work was done to try and keep it fit and available to play?
The pitch, you mean? Oh yeah. I mean, Danny and the staff were extremely relaxed, you know, with their various implements, whether they be pitchforks or rollers or blowers and all the rest of it, and were a large part of the early input at 12:30 when the game was looked at and decision was 12:30. Yeah, we'll have it's okay, but kept going and kept going. They were very relaxed, and when you go out there now, you can see why. But if you look at the black and white of this, the referee is being the input he has is that this pitch will be fantastic if it stops raining. The ground staff are saying no problem with this pitch if it stops raining. But the point at which he called it off, it was melting down. So he has made a decision. You know, he's not God at the end of the day, is he? And he's made a decision that says, I don't like the look of this. You know, there's 1,000 fans knocking on the door to come in. As of now, it's not playable. And I have no judgment on whether it was actually playable at 1:45. I'm not a referee, and I won't go into that. But he made that decision at that time, and I feel for him. In hindsight, you know, you might say it's the wrong decision, but it was the decision made at the time. And there's lessons to learn, and those inputs from both ourselves and Portsmouth will go into the EFL and the FA, because of course the referees are controlled by the FA. So that's what we'll do.